This is Let Us Interrupt You, episode 62, here on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. I took a long hiatus here. There was no show Saturday. There was no show on Monday or Tuesday to make up for it. I'm not going to go over the Saturday stories, obviously. If you want to be able to figure out what were the stories on last Saturday, you can go on to my news feed and check out the stuff there. You can find me on Facebook by just typing in simply Joseph Olivo. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Joseph Olivo. All of them have a lot of Facebooks. I know there's more than one Joseph Olivo, obviously. It's a lot of Olivos in this world. But anyway, this was the All-Star week pretty much. The Home Run Derby was on Monday night. The All-Star game was on last night. The American League did get the win. I believe they do now have home field advantage throughout the World Series. And that is now 9 straight wins for the American League in the All-Star game. Giancarlo Stanton did get MVP last night. He had a 2-run shot last night. Brian Buxton, who wasn't even supposed to be in the All-Star game, gets a home run himself. He was replacing, I forgot who he was ended up replacing, but he replaced somebody in the game, I believe. Devers was in there last night. Bogarts was in there. Ohtani at one point got picked off early in the first inning. The National League struck early with two home runs. With 2 runs. I think Goldschmidt had a solo shot in the game. I have to double check the stats here. But I'm going to start talking about LeBron James basically being the biggest fraud of all time and calling Boston racist as bleep as the F-bomb he dropped. This was all over ESPN.com. It was all over the Wall Street Journal. It was all over Bleacher Report. It was pretty much the biggest news story of the week. When it comes to LeBron James, I mean, and this was over a T-shirt, I guess, that say F LeBron. Nothing racist, nothing really, but this is the reason why I hate LeBron. Nothing too dramatic about that, really. Just simply they don't like LeBron. LeBron has been, the biggest villain in the NBA now for years. He is the guy that's the biggest crybaby in the NBA. And you talk about a guy right now who is trying to live into Michael Jordan's shoes. At least Michael Jordan actually grew a set of balls and didn't whine and complain about certain calls in games. And I say that about Michael Jordan because that's exactly who he is. Michael Jordan is the one guy that really you can count on. You can count on Michael Jordan to be clutch in certain situations. He doesn't need to build a super team around him to get good. They all wanted to play with Mike. The difference is Michael Jordan had people that wanted to play with him. LeBron is basically getting a contract saying, sign your life away. I want you here. I'll sign your contract for you. But you can't make more money than I do. I'm worth $1 billion, and that's it. You ain't going to top me in that. And I think, honestly, this is the way I look at it. I think LeBron knows he can't win it by himself, and that's why he has to have all these players come around. And this is why I always will pick Michael Jordan over LeBron James, because Michael Jordan actually doesn't force people to come play with him. The difference is they know that he's going to win, and they want to be the ones to be a part of his journey. That's the difference. That's the difference. Anthony Davis wanted to play in Los Angeles not because of LeBron, even though LeBron forced him, to death to go play with him in Los Angeles as a Los Angeles Laker, but he really wanted to play in Los Angeles because he likes LA. And who wouldn't like LA at this point? Of course you want to go play in LA. Sure, you got to put up with LeBron James, but now at this point, you're getting $80 million to put up with him. So why does he care? Do you think anybody cares about LeBron James, what he does right now? No, they all can't stand him anyway, but they can't say no to the money. If you're going to put up with some egotistical player like LeBron James, you have to do it. But yeah, this was over a T-shirt, I guess. This was according to Black and White Sports. Again, shout out to them for the story here. I have to say this about this whole thing, about the fact that LeBron James, didn't like the fact that the shirt they had, and this is why they're racist. No, they've hated you for years because you were the biggest crybaby, and you whined and cried when you lost to the Celtics. That's exactly what it is. And, and people are going to look at it and to say that every Boston sports fan there is racist, every Celtic fan to be exact, is racist. I think it's just ridiculous at this point. And I think it's the most asinine statement that I could think of that LeBron James has ever made. I mean, you talk about a guy right now that basically just completely just went beyond way over the top here with his statement. I just think it's just outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And I think it's sad because in a way it's just, LeBron James is losing it. LeBron James can't live it down about the fact right now that he could have 6 championships right now. If it wasn't for the fact the Celtics always kicked their butts, or they didn't get the right talent, or they weren't super enough for him to stick around in certain cities. He had to run away. This is the guy. But every sports team loves him because, they think they're making the NBA better when in reality he's not. And he's killing the NBA with these super teams. I hate to clue people on that ordeal. But I don't know how they could be super considering they always lose in the NBA finals anyway, or they get choked out in the first round, or LeBron doesn't commit and just basically does other projects. I mean, it's one excuse from that guy after another. And it's just sad because I hear stories like this and it makes me shake my head because it's just a joke at this point. That's what it comes down to. It's an absolute joke. And I think honestly what makes it even scarier is the fact that the Celtics fans are being victimized for being racist when I can't think of one racist comment they've said about the guy. The only time that you'll get negative comments from Boston fans is where you basically be sarcastic. You're egging them on. Look at Draymond Green. Look at Klay Thompson. They got the real boo birds treatment because they didn't like the fact how they were disrespected on the court. It's mind games. That's all it is. It's freedom of speech. And I think these fans should be allowed to have freedom of speech in the game. I don't see what the heck's wrong with that. Now, can they go a little far with it sometimes? Yeah, I think they can. But I can't think of one outrageous thing Boston fans have said over the years anyway. I can't think of one. I hear all these people go on TV and say how Boston's the most racist town and they have the most racist fan base and their fan base is nuts. I wouldn't say it's racist. I wouldn't go out of my way saying it's racist. I've been to a lot of sporting events in Boston. I've been mostly to Red Sox games. I've been mostly to Patriot games. I've been to Celtic games. I watch Bruin games on TV because sometimes I just can't make a Bruin game. Although it'd be nice to go to a Boston Bruin game. But I really can't, for the life of me, remember the last time that I went to a Boston, fan and walked out of there and felt like I was a racist after the fact, or felt like the fans were racist towards the game. I just never felt that way. I think LeBron James is just upset because he's getting backlash about China now. He's basically in cahoots with China in the first place because they're making him billions of dollars and everybody freaking knows it. But he's going to deny it, of course, because he's going to go, oh, I did this for Akron. I have this other project. I'm the co-owner of this baseball team. I'm a co-owner of a hockey team. But no, dude, I mean, you're getting most of that money, if not all of it, playing in the China League, playing the World Basketball Classic, playing in the Olympics. I mean, you've gotten paid to pay in the play for the Olympics, okay? It's okay to feel this way. We get it. The NBA needs that China money in order to make themselves more successful than the NFL and Major League Baseball in revenue. I understand that. But to go on certain things like forcing Enes Kanter to retire, why was Enes Kanter is expressing his freedom of speech when it comes to China? Like we should shut our fan base up if you're the NBA, so they won't freaking know we're taking money from China. Every NBA fan still watches the games. It's not like they don't know of what you're doing. And really, they're going to say, oh, we're losing fan bases because these games suck. No, they're losing fan base because they have a commissioner right now who is basically – it's like the government being in cahoots with Saudi Arabia and knowing where Osama bin Laden was over the years. And they basically were chasing Iraq around for no reason for the last 15 years. They haven't wasted their freaking time with them. It's just like that. You're not gonna change my mind about that argument. It's basically the exact same thing. And where LeBron James is wrong is to act like that he is the one that feels like that Boston fans expose him. Dude, you were already exposed when you left Cleveland. You left Cleveland in 2010. That's where you got exposed because you needed a super team in a different location to go play basketball and win a championship. You couldn't even do it in Cleveland the first time. The only reason why you did it the second time in Cleveland, your second go at it, was because you got lucky in the end of a Game 7 after your team was down 3-1 in the series. That's it. You had the luckiest 2015-2016 season pretty much in sports history over the last 5 or 6 years. Probably one of the craziest NBA finals that they've had in recent memory. Other than the NBA finals we just witnessed this year when the Celtics were up 2-1 and they basically lost the series in 6. A lot of people figured that was going to happen. I didn't think that was going to happen. But a lot of people did. I just didn't feel that way. I never felt that way. But yeah, I mean, I hear all the noise. I hear the drama. And I think that there's a lot to LeBron James that's left to be desired here. And I feel like that LeBron James's ego gets in the way with common sense. It does, and people should not have to act like that, have to act like they're walking on eggshells and they can't express their opinions. But for LeBron James to go after Boston fans in general, to me, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. Over a T-shirt that says F LeBron. Why not go after Black and White Sports, who constantly trash you on social media and trash you on YouTube every time? And I actually applaud them. I actually watch their podcast every day. There's not one episode I miss. I watch it I listen to it on my Spotify. I watch it right after YouTube. I do a lot when it comes to that show. I do a lot when it comes to that particular trend. The fact that and they say a lot more, I wouldn't say racist type of deals, but they completely bury him under the dust here. Everyone thinks my podcast is going to bury this guy. It might. It might after today. But, he's pretty much being used to being buried by sports radio media now. He's been doing that, but mainly in Boston now for recent memory. Why? Because LeBron James hates Boston. And Boston sports fans, see, the difference is Boston sports fans are willing to stand up. See, all the other sports fans there want to kiss their butts because they know how good he is. And that's not taking away from LeBron James. LeBron James is good. Okay? When you win the NBA Finals practically by yourself with an unhealthy Anthony Davis in a COVID year for the city of Los Angeles after Kobe died, that was all LeBron. I'll give credit where credit is due there. And then the return to Cleveland the second time. Those 2 times in Miami, though, if you had to make the argument right now, I would say you won the first one, but Ray Allen won you that last one against the Spurs. So really, I'm only going to give you credit for one NBA Finals win that you've ever had in your career at this point in Miami with a super team that you created, that you put together and was already in the making. So all the Cleveland fans that burnt their jersey, you shouldn't have been surprised. That's all I'm going to say. By the way, that was the 12-year anniversary of that was last, I'm pretty sure it was like 13 days ago at that point, because that's when the decision came out. Speaking of super teams, Shaquille O'Neal blames LeBron James for starting the trend of super teams. He quote unquote says that's the loophole that accepted that, but and I say LeBron started making all the super team and all that. Quote. That was what Shaq said. This is according to I don't know what the hell just happened here. This is what I mean. I had the article right here, right? This was on the Big Shaq podcast. He went on record saying that was what LeBron James has done. LeBron James is all set to enter the 20th season of the NBA career, despite being the NBA's for almost 2 decades. James is still one of the best players in the league. He gave a sneak peek of what fans should expect from him in his 20th season during a Drew League appearance last Saturday. As good as James is to succeed in the modern-day NBA, a player needs support from his teammates as well. LeBron's career timeline is probably the best example of it. During his initial years in the NBA, it didn't take him much time to start dominating the league with his freak athleticism. But looking at the bigger picture here, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the time were a bad team and were being exposed in the playoffs. James later decided to form, basically, so we already know about the big three. We already knew about that. I think Shaq is right. It hurt the NBA I already said this now at this point. It hurt the NBA as far as what Shaq is saying. He's got a point. I mean, there's no other way of saying it here. But Shaq at this point knows for a fact right now that he played for a crappy Cavalier. It was basically him and Shaq in, what was it, the 2008, 2009 NBA season, I'm pretty sure, where he practically, I'm trying to remember if Shaq was traded from Phoenix to Cleveland at that point. I'm pretty sure he was. But Shaq knew that LeBron couldn't do it with just him and him. They were always going to expose him to playoffs every year. Think about it. They lost in 6 games against the Orlando Magic, a team that probably shouldn't even have gone to the NBA Finals, a team that probably shouldn't even have been a number 4 seed, if we're going to really be really honest with ourselves here. They got lucky because they ran into a Boston Celtics team that was banged up, championship hungover. Kevin Garnett's too banged up to play with a bad knee and limited. And the Magic got lucky to win that game in game 7 in Boston. Let's be real. Lucky that year. The Cavaliers should have went to the NBA Finals that year and beat the freaking Lakers that year. Is what they should have really had happen because he had Shaq there. But Shaq was past his prime. Just like LeBron is pretty much past his prime. Although he's still doing it at a high level. He's not – if he was doing it at a high level in every game and not resting 25, 35 games this season, and people want to look at me and say, oh, but he's still in his prime though. So what if he sits out for 35 games? He's still in his prime. I hate to clue people on this whole thing. You're in your 20th season in the NBA. You might as well be a part-time player if you're gonna miss 35 games. Even if it's injury, it's different. If it's rest really and the excuse they have and they can't do back-to-back, it's like, give me a break. This is Adam Silver pondering to the players because they know it makes him money. That's what these commissioners care about anyway. But the idea that Shaq initially blamed LeBron for these whole things, I think he agreed. I agree with he agreed with the whole landscape. I mean, people are actually agreeing with him on this whole thing. I'm in agreement. The idea that Shaq said that of all people, you want to know why? Because he knew he was past his prime. LeBron was asking for Shaq to come there. He knew it wasn't going to work with Shaq. I'm pretty sure Shaq that season, I don't remember if he sat out for a year or I don't think he played with the Cavaliers in the 09-10 season. In fact, I can't remember what he did in 09 and 10. But I don't think he played in that Cavalier team back in that time. I mean, he may have been still in the contract with them, but I don't think they were in the playoffs that year. Or he may have been. I don't really remember exactly. But, man, I mean, it just – you think back on it, and it's like you almost want to say, man, LeBron James forced a past prime Shaq, because Shaq was past his prime. I'm sorry, by 2000, I would say after the NBA Finals back in 2005 and 6, Shaq was not really at a high level. I don't feel like. I may be wrong. I mean, he was still a defensive presence, but when it came to going to the hoop and being the offensive initiator here, I just, I didn't see the Heat going back to back in the NBA Finals the following season. I really didn't. I actually thought for sure it'd be the Dallas Mavericks. I didn't think it'd be the Spurs, and I'm a Spurs fan. Also a Celtic fan at the same time. So, but I'm more of a Boston diehard, really, more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, even at that point, my first initial thought was this is where it began. Was where he wanted Shaq to come in 08, 09 from Phoenix. I believe he played for Phoenix the following year. I think he actually went to Cleveland first and then went to go play for Phoenix. I don't remember exactly how that went out. But I can tell you that right now from full experience that, I mean, Shaq was right on the money here with this. The super team stuff was just, it was too much advertising for it. The day that he said he's going to win not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. I even knew then the NBA was in trouble. I think a lot of NBA teams knew they were in trouble. They knew what was coming. The difference, it was almost like Cirque du Soleil. Every time I watched the Big Three dominate, it was bad. The playoffs weren't that great. You look at the Heat's first run in the playoffs. I mean, they won every series in 5 games pretty much. If not, then sweeping somebody. I mean, go back and watch the playoff series against the Bulls. Everybody thought that'd be a 7-game series right there, and it ended up being a 5-game series, and it was the most disappointing playoff run that I can remember for any team that's going to go up against Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron. It's not like they weren't even, though. To act like they weren't, it's just sad. And just thinking back at it now, it was a dark time in the NBA. It still is. LeBron James being is part of the NBA, and I love it how people are going to say that they're going to blame the fact that LeBron wasn't in the playoffs that year. They're going to blame that on the the teams that were in the playoffs not drawing enough attention. Here's the thing: when you have Brooklyn versus Boston in the first round, and Boston sweeps them in that first round, everybody knew they were going to go to the NBA Finals that year. I mean, how do you not go to the NBA Finals after you sweep a team in 4 games? You win a series against the Bucks in 7 games. And really destroyed the Miami Heat in 7 games. And they did it on the road in Miami in probably the worst timing possible to go against a motivated Warrior team that had Curry breaking records all year. How could you not expect that to happen? Why did nobody want to watch that finals? Was that too predictable for people? Was people just putting too much into it, too much coverage? Was it just too much pre-coverage before the games? I mean, if you don't want to be exposed to that, don't watch. Don't watch the pre-coverage, but watch the games. Don't say because LeBron James wasn't in the playoffs that year. I was thinking God LeBron wasn't in the playoffs because it would have been too predictable. Would have gotten the Celtics-Lakers NBA Finals. Now, granted, that would be an interesting NBA Finals. It's because it's history behind those 2 franchises. It's a battle for 18, really. I'm pretty sure at this point it would be at this point. But I just feel like, to me, to say that LeBron James wasn't in the playoffs and that's why the ratings were bad, I mean, don't kid yourself. It was all because of the whole LeBron James and China relationship. It's all because they're all in cahoots with China, even though now they lost most of their streaming, most of their viewers from China anyways. Because see, the difference is it's not like the WWE, with their deal with Saudi Arabia. You're not going to get China dictating how the NBA is played and how to script the NBA. Now, people can be convinced, and they've been saying this for years now, the games are scripted, just like the NFL. The NFL's scripted. Oh, Tom Brady won that 5th Super Bowl in a 28-3 comeback. It was all scripted. They tell the players they make more money if they lose the game. That's complete bullcrap. What are you going to say? The Boston Celtics made more money by losing the NBA Finals? Give me a break. That's a joke. Is that why LeBron James is 4-6 in the NBA Finals? Do you rather make more money? Is that why he's a billionaire? He lost more NBA Finals titles? I mean, come on, give me a break. Complete hooey. But those super teams were a dark time in the NBA. And honestly, I think that's why most fans stopped watching the NBA after 2012. I mean, let's be honest. If LeBron James would have lost that NBA Finals that year to the Spurs in that season, you could have argued right now they would be because of the fact right now that that LeBron's just a choker. That LeBron's the problem. You could have brought in Ray Allen that year and Steph Curry and have Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in that super team and give him the 4 horsemen right there. And that would actually have been more of a hell of a story and more of a super team. And people would actually appreciate that super team because it's more of an unexpected and it opens the eyes to the viewer that says, oh, it's not LeBron James. It's not the cancer of the NBA. By the way, LeBron James is the biggest fraud of all time. He's the biggest villain of all time. It's exactly what he is. He's the biggest villain of all time. It's just, I despise LeBron James. I mean, if you're going to hear me hating on this guy, I think I already drove the point home. I'll move on to something else. Chris Sale broke his pinky finger, was expected to miss the rest of the baseball season, but unfortunately, he's not going to miss the rest of the season, although he probably should sit out. But his return is expected to be September 1st. This is according to some reporting from ESPN. It's also been reported by the Red Sox at this point. I'm just going to try to find the Red Sox news here on my end. By the way, their All-Star break is going to come to an end on Friday as they return home to face the Blue Jays. But it happened right in the first inning against the Yankees. By the way, the Yankees took 2 out of 3. They outscored the Red Sox 31-8. It was pathetic. It was a pathetic series. And you talk about quitting on your manager and your general manager before the All-Star break. That's exactly what happened in that series against the Yankees. And Chris Sale being injured was a damper on their whole year. Their whole season's done. I don't care what they do after this All-Star break. They're not going to get passed by the Blue Jays. They're not going to get passed by Tampa Bay or Seattle or Houston. It's over. It's done. Finito. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Like, it's done. By the way, Chris Sale had surgery on his left broken pinky. So the team is calling the surgery successful, but not giving it actually, I heard from my cousin last night it'd be September 1st, but apparently there's no timetable right now, but they're saying it's going to take up to 6 weeks for recovery, which means probably a rehab start after those 6 weeks. Going back to Worcester to basically probably break another TV, probably punch out the dugout like he's done before in his past, play with the White Sox and how the White Sox basically wanted out from him, like the Red Sox want out from him right now. They're regretting on the contract they said right now. They might be over the luxury tax because of Sale, which is great. So it's not good news all the way around. And if you want my honest opinion at this point, I think Chaim Bloom and Alex Cora should be fired at the end of the year. They're out of the playoffs. I'm going to say it, go on record right now and say that they're going to finish in last place. And now I'm going to say they'll be fired. If they're not over the threshold at this point of 4th or 5th place, they're done. Finito. That's it for them. And as crazy as that sounds, I mean, and I think a lot of people could agree on this. That's it. That's it for the Red Sox at this point. As far as how deep they are in a deep run at this point and what they could do, I mean, their run's done. Yes, you have Eovaldi back. Yes, you have Garrett Whitlock back. But here's my question at this point: is Whitlock going to be your starter, or your middle relief pitcher in the bullpen, or your closer? At this point, I'd be better off as having him your closer. Or at this point, like I suggested before, trading for Rollins Chapman, getting rid of Xander Bogaerts, who clearly doesn't want to stay in Boston, even though he's a big Poppy fan now at this point. And Poppy's giving more praise to Devers more than he is giving for Bogaerts. Because you want to know why? Because Ortiz knows Bogaerts is a fraud and doesn't really want to stay in Boston. He's only doing it for the money. Just like how he figured that Mookie Betts was going to leave. I think he was the one that even predicted it. I'm pretty sure that Betts was going to leave. That he was never to face at Boston. That Devers had to be the guy. And the Red Sox apparently offered Devers the 8-year, $168 million contract that also would have gotten if Devers would play first base at DH. So that was the plan at this point, is try to have Devers play a different position when he's been mostly third base for most of his career. Talk about a waste of time there. And I think at this point, if you really wanted to do that, you should have moved Devers out from third base to make him first base back 3 or 4 years ago. Why are we wasting our time on this? I don't know. To me, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's one of the dumbest things that I could think of realistically here. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think it's almost too ridiculous now at this point. And I'm just saying, I mean, as a fan for this, I'm not so sure what's going to end up happening to Bogaerts here in a trade. But you can trade again, like I said, the Bogaerts Luis Castillo trade could still happen. You get more out of your pitching this way if you're not going to get Chris Sale back. And I don't think Chris Sale's coming back. I really don't think he is. I'd be surprised if he does. Yes, he's out for 6 weeks with a broken pinky. But here's my opinion. You already got Eovaldi back. You already got Garrett Whitlock back. The problem is you got a loser team. You do. They're too far gone. They're too distracted. And you want my honest opinion? They're not good enough for a playoff run. Chaim Bloom knows it. Alex Cora knows it. John Henry knows it, but he could care less because he's trying to plan his next vacation. Or he's trying to he's trying to get the ice ready from the TD Garden to come to Fenway when they have their Penguins Bruins matchup on January 1st. That's all he cares about. There's no thought process. There's no thought process. Oh, here we go. We're going to have some breaking news. Garoppolo permitted to seek a trade. 49ers are giving Jimmy Garoppolo's agents permission to seek a trade as the quarterback receives clearance to start practicing with the team. So I guess he's been apparently cleared to practice throwing after his shoulder surgery. But Garoppolo could be traded by the end of today. That is the breaking news right now. That is right now, according to CBS Sports by Jeff Kerr. The 49ers are completing the process of moving Jimmy Garoppolo, giving the quarterback permission to seek a trade from the franchise. CBS swore inside Jonathan Jones reported Garoppolo's agents have permission to seek a trade, but point out that teams are unwilling to seriously consider any trade until his shoulder heals. I look at it like this. I don't buy that for 1 minute. I mean, if he's been cleared to practice at this point by training camp, and they already know this stuff, it's been all over the news now for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I don't buy that with the story. I just don't. But yeah, so I mean, I don't believe for 1 second right now that Garoppolo will sit out we'll let this happen. But back to my Red Sox thought. They're all beat up. Cora should be fired. Bloom should be fired. John Henry should sell the team. But and I'm not the only person who thinks this. Everybody at 98.5 The Sports Hub thinks this. I'm pretty sure WVEI thinks this. I think every baseball team right now is laughing at John Henry at this point. You talk about a completely different John Henry since, I would say, probably since they got rid of Terry Francona. You can make the argument right now I could be way off base on that horror deal, but I think ever since Francona left and they hired Bobby Valentine of all people in 2012, and they got, I can't think of the manager's name now. The ex-Blue Jay manager who got signed with the Red Sox but then got fired, and I think he got fired, in 16? I think he got fired. Or 17? Was it 17 that he got fired? Or he retired? I can't remember. But anyway. But even with Ben Cherington, let me put it this way. If Ben Cherington right now was never a GM for this Red Sox team and they kept Theo Epstein around, I think it was all Theo Epstein that got those World Series championships. You could argue right now John Henry kind of helped a little bit, but Theo did most of the groundwork when he came here in 2004, when he left in 2013. When he left in 2013, I think it was between Francona leaving. It changed the whole landscape because I think Epstein was gone by the end of that year too. I think because Henry even then was saying how, I'll never sell this team and all that. And, Frank, and I guess he listened to a bunch of veteran players who wanted more money. And Francona didn't think they were worth the money, but he was worth the money. And I think Francona was worth it because he was actually one of the better managers. You can argue right now that he wasn't. I think he got a real swift kick in the nuts in the end for a guy who won 2 World Series championships and got booted out the door. People were going to say, oh, he was too soft in the Red Sox towards the end. I got to be honest. They didn't care about listening to him at all because they wanted more money. Beckett did not want to be a Red Sox. He wanted to stay with the Florida Marlins. Kevin Youkilis wanted out of Boston for the last, 2 or 3 years at that point. The only ones that really wanted to stay that are real Red Sox players with David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, and you could argue Dustin Pedroia. And Pedroia and Ortiz both retired as Red Sox. Manny Ramirez, he went to Tampa Bay and Los Angeles. I got nothing after that one. So anyway, let me get right back in the MLB All Star coverage of this. So the game was on last night. Very interesting All Star game to say the least. John Carlson did get the MVP. Game really started out with Mookie Betts getting an RBI single. Acuna Jr. was allowed to score. I think Betts was caught. Was he caught stealing? I don't remember if he was or not. I don't believe he was. But Goldschmidt had a solo shot to left field, made it 2-0. Top of the 4th, John Carlos Stanton just hit a bomb. Jose Ramirez was on base. He scored. Game was tied 2-2. Then Buxton later on hit the go-ahead run to take the lead. And the American League won 3-2. So that's my Major League. That's my All-Star coverage on this game. Stanton did get MVP. He was, believe it or not, 1 for 1 in this game, I believe. I don't think he actually played another series in this one. Ohtani got the first hit of the game. He got walked. Ohtani should have been, you can argue right now, should have been the MVP if he would have done more. But I think they really wanted to make it interesting. So they wanted to give Stanton the real reason why they got, because if it wasn't for that 2-run shot, it would never allowed Buxton to hit his home run. Benintendi went 0 for 2 in this game. Rodriguez went 0 for 2. Bogarts went 0 for 1. I believe Devers got walked once in the game. That was the only at-plate appearance he had for the Red Sox in this game. Other than that, that was it. I mean, the American League wins. They get home field advantage. I still think it's Yankees-Dodgers. The Yankees are not going to get the start to have home field advantage when the playoffs begin. They're the best team in baseball. I mean, let's be honest here for a minute. I mean, if we're going to really be honest with ourselves now going forward, The only thing that's going to be the downfall of this whole series and the end of all this is that somehow, some way, what's the team right now at this point chokes with Chapman. I can't even think of the player's name, but Aronis Chapman. Sorry, I'm a little distracted right now. My phone just started buzzing. I just got a random phone. Somebody tried to call me that was a spam. That I thought I blocked the number to, but apparently it just popped up on my phone. So I do apologize. I was a little distracted there. But yeah, I mean, Aronis Chapman at this point could blow this for the Yankees. That's the only downfall for the Yankees right now is the fact they still have Chapman on this team. And I think Chapman should be the one that gets moved here. It helps out with bullpen space a little bit. It takes out like a chunk of contract out of Chapman's money deal. You trade him away. He is a good trade piece at this point. Now, as far as who should get him at this point, it's the Red Sox. But do I think that's ever going to happen? It's a long shot. Asante Samuel went on record to say that Tom Brady was the reason that Bill Belichick got his rings. So Tom, he thinks he's going to give Tom all the flowers, he said, close quote, on the he was on the I Am the Athlete podcast with LaShawn McCoy, Brandon Marshall, and Chad Johnson. I do have the audio of what he had said here. It is on the I Am the Athlete page, so I'm going to pull this up quickly. If I have the video right now, it's a small clip of what Asante Samuel had said. This was posted. This was on Monday. I'll probably bring up another NFL scoop story in just a second. I thought I had it on here. It was on Monday. Do I not have the short video here? I thought I did. I mean, it was on my. You know what? I think it was on my Instagram page. Now that I look back on it, it might as well have been. Oh, here it is.
Play with Tom. You got to play with Tom. You know what I mean? We got to see the perfection of the perfectionist. You know, one of the greatest to ever do it. One of the awesomest people, motivator, inspirator, leader, all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So basically, man, if you was coaching the team, and you had Tom, we could all win a championship. You know what I mean?
So that's how he felt about that scenario. Here's another clip about him burying Bill Belichick.
That's all we need, somebody, because we got Tom. Everything gonna work. But guess what? Belichick still got a way to be the greatest coach. I still give him credit. He can still be the greatest coach of all time. He just got to win another Super Bowl. That's it. That's all we need, somebody.
Samuel's not wrong, by the way, about what he said. Belichick at this point has got to win another ring. It'll be tied, but he could still go down as one of the greatest head coaches of all time. I'm just saying. You could get number 9 if you want, Bill. You could do it. I mean, is he sick of winning? I don't think he is. I doubt it. But I think at this point, and I feel this way, that Bill Belichick getting exposed like this is making him gun shy. He's not the intense Bill Belichick that wants to win anymore. I think he's burnt out. I think the 20 years with Tom Brady and how that relationship fell apart in the end completely ruined his confidence. Because we went from Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in New England, to Cam Newton, one of the biggest floppers in the NFL right now, behind Tim Tebow. The what if with Cam Newton? What if Cam Newton recovered that fumble against the Broncos in that Super Bowl 50 game? What if Cam Newton actually had a winning season with the Patriots back in 2020? What if the fan base that decided not to go, they all want to say it was because of COVID, to blatantly lie, because no one wanted to see Cam Newton play. Heck, I was the one that went on record saying that Cam Newton will get cut by the end of August of last year. You want to know what happened? He got cut by the end of August of last year. Pretty much that's exactly what happened. There's no other way of covering it. You can make the argument right now that Cam Newton was a big flop on this Patriot roster. Hell, he was the biggest flop going back to the Carolina Panthers last season. But Bill Belichick, one of the greatest head coaches of all time, was orchestrated by one of the greatest players / GMs / head coach in his own mind, in Tom Brady. And you want to know something? It worked out in Bill Belichick's favor. That's why Brady took the pay cuts, because he figured He's just another. That's why Brady was being paid basically like an assistant, like the assistant that Bill Belichick had over the years. That's what Brady was paid like. The only difference was he made more assistants, made more money than the assistants did because he actually did the work on the football field. He's still doing work on the football field with a different team. Could have worked out if you kept him here. Could have worked out. You could have won another championship by now at this point. And I bring this up because this is turning into the Michael Jordan versus LeBron James angle at this point. This is what this has become. The Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady debate has become the Michael Jordan versus LeBron James debate. And people are going to look at me and go, oh, it's player and player. It's not the same thing. It is. Especially now when Tom Brady is playing for a different franchise. You can put that conversation together. Hell, didn't we have that a long time ago when it came to Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady when it came down to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Or Drew Brees. But really, it's mainly about Peyton Manning versus Brady head-to-head here. And people are going to make the argument that, Brady, was a softie and he was not, no one was afraid of going up against him. People were saying they were afraid of going up against Peyton Manning. I'm thinking to myself, like, didn't Peyton Manning have the biggest choke jobs in playoff games, especially against the Patriots? The only time he was ever good was at home against Tom Brady and the Patriots at the time. That was it. Here, you got Brady who makes his triumphant return to New England last year in the pouring rain, and he barely pulls it out of his ass. He actually beat his own team that he used to play for. That debate was already settled and people are saying it's one and done at this point, that Bill would never win another championship. He might just do it. And let's say right now he coaches somewhere else. Who does he coach for? Let's say he goes and coaches for the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes at this point. How many wins does he get right now with Patrick Mahomes? Because I'm telling you right now, Andy Reid right now and his greatness is running out. People are saying right now he'll never win another championship with the Kansas City Chiefs because of what he has right now for a head coach. I can believe it. And the fact that he's not cutting back on his money, that's pure selfishness. You're losing the guys that are going to help you out. Hell, you don't have Orlando Brown Jr. anymore at left tackle anymore, getting that long-term deal because he ain't going to get it. And I think he declined the deal simply because he knows he's going to ask for a pay cut anyway. Because Mahomes won't get his money cut. And I think that's selfish on Mahomes. He's not worth $500 million. He's not. He won one Super Bowl after being MVP in first year. And you're worth $500 million? No, that's Kansas City saying we're desperate. We don't want to lose you. You know you're the only reason why Kelsey is good. You know the only reason why which they forget, by the way, that they started out with Alex Smith at quarterback. That's how smart the Kansas City Chiefs fans really are, or the organization there. But Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady, going back to my point on Bill Belichick versus Brady, is turning into Michael Jordan. It's a new Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate. It's a new Peyton Manning, Tom Brady debate of who the greatest players of all time, who the greatest quarterback is of all time. But who is the great personnel, GM, player, and all that? It's Brady. Hands down, Brady has won this debate. Just like Michael Jordan has won the debate against LeBron, Tom Brady has won it against Bill Belichick here. Hell, he's won it against Peyton Manning. You want to know why people are going to say he hasn't won against Peyton Manning? Because Peyton Manning is the most confusing guy when it comes to certain signals. Brady isn't. Brady's kind of predictable. The difference is, though, Brady can still expose you at any time. You just can't catch it. You know that song? Can't touch this? Da-na-na. Nah. That's what I think of every time now when Tom Brady gets rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds. I think of the same thing when I watch Peyton Manning play, the exact same song. Da-na-na, na-na. Can't touch this. I think of that. When it comes to Bill Belichick, when it comes to the cheating scandals, can't touch this. That's what I think of when I think of Belichick and Kraft coming up with their cheating scandals. That's what makes them so good because they know how to manipulate the NFL. That's how Brady knows how to manipulate the NFL. Brady is just a poster child for New England because Belichick and Kraft are doing their little mischief behavior. When really, let's be honest, all the mischief behavior is by every GM in the NFL, by paying his commissioner $500 million to bury evidence when their team screws up. That's the reality. But as far as the debate goes at this point, what's the best debate right now at this point? And has this killed the Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate? Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate was already killed when LeBron James couldn't win a championship in Cleveland when he came back the first time. That's what happened. He won an NBA title by being with a super team. Tom Brady never needed a super team. Hell, he couldn't even win it with Randy Moss. And that team went 18-0. That right there. And you could argue right now that Brady was never asking for a super team. Gronk just wanted to keep playing with Brady because he was his best friend. Didn't mean it was a super team. I don't even see when I hear Gronk and Brady, oh, it's a super team. You can't have that. And they got Godwin and they got Evans. And Brady is begging for players. You want to know why Brady was begging for players at this point and just to be paid at this point so they can stay in New England? There are people who actually want to come. This is the difference right now. This is what I'm saying here. People want to gravitate towards Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick is trying to snatch every no-name off the street to be the next Tom Brady. Mac Jones has got a long way to go before becoming the next Tom Brady. And I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I just don't think it is. It's not realistic. I just don't believe it's going to happen. Belichick right now can think he can do it by himself. But here's the reason why you won your first 2 rings as an assistant. Because Bill Parcells gave you those rings. Lawrence Taylor gave you those rings. You still have yet to earn your ring by yourself. If it wasn't really for Tom Brady in 2002 against the Rams, you would have never gotten that ring. And people are going to say that was Belichick in that first year there. It can be both. It's got to be both at this point. It's got to be because of Adam Vinatieri's foot. You can thank Adam Vinatieri's foot for most of those championship wins, if you're Bill. And thank Tom. And thank Jamiel Wiggins. And thank David Patton. And thank Deion Branch. These aren't no names you find off the streets. You want to know the reality of it is at this point? They realize how Bill Belichick and the Kraft act when it comes to salary caps. They're cheap. That's why no one wants to go play with. That's why you got to find no names who at this point who might as well be freaking no names that no one even remembers played for them. You got rid of most of your talent because you had Tom Brady, because Tom Brady didn't need a super team. When Brady had no use for you and the Belichick and Kraft had no use for you, they got rid of you. The difference was that it should have been Brady's call. You should have had to say whether or not these guys should stay or not. But here's the thing that really gets me, though. You got a guy who's getting a pay cut at this point and allowing all this to happen right under his nose. It doesn't really ring a bell in your ear right now that Belichick is treating you like he treats all his other assistants. That should have been a clue for Brady right there and then saying, I want my money. And I think the Patriots would have paid. I think Kraft would have chickened out and just said, yeah, pay him. If he wants these guys to do it. Brady should have writing on the wall after the 2019 season. When he tore his MCL, they didn't care about him. They figured out Brady's faking it. Why would he keep on playing? Because you have nobody else. Let me put it this way. Let's say Tom Brady sat out that year with a torn MCL injury. And they had Jarrett Stidham. Would Bill Belichick would have won that Super Bowl that year with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback? I don't think they would have gotten out into the playoffs that year. They would have lost the AFC East after going 8-0. They would have gone 8-8. They would have gone 0-8 with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. They would have never won another game. It's just like the Denver Broncos back in 2009. They started out 6-0. They went like 6-6 that year, and they ended up winning 2 more games and losing 2 more games that year, and they gone 8-8. That would have the Patriots that year, except they would have lost every game. Every game they would have lost. And you want to know why? Because the Patriots weren't fast enough on offense. They didn't have the talent. I'm going to tell you right now, you have Randy Moss there with Jabbar Gaffney, and I'm trying to remember who the other wide receivers were at the time. I can't think. I think it was Gaffney, Welker, and Edelman was drafted in 2009, but Welker was still around. Welker's considered one of those elite conversation players that you could have kept. You had Welker that year, and you had Gaffney that year, and you had Randy Moss. And that's why you went 11-5. Name one wide receiver on that team in 2019 that even comes close to 3 of those guys. You can't. The only player I could think of realistically that actually came close to that was Edelman, and he was burnt out to that point. He was too burnt out to perform at that level. He was You had no Gronk that year either. So put that in consideration. Heinz Field took down the Ketchup Bottles. This was all over the social media this week. It was on the Pittsburgh Steelers homepage. It was on CBS Sports. Pat McAfee show was talking about it the other day. The Heinz Field era is over. You know what the irony in this whole thing is? Looking back on it now, I don't know why they changed the name of that stadium. The only one that really surprised me the other day was Bill Carter. He went on record saying that, it might be a good thing for Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I don't see why. Why they got to get used to an insurance company name that no one's ever even heard of before. When I first heard of it, I thought it was a ski resort. When I first heard of the name. Then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, it's an insurance company? Oh, I'm not interested in that. I'm not. So I don't know. It's kind of weird if you ask me, though. They just never thought any of that through. I just think maybe. Who knows? But the story here is this. When you have someone like Bill Cowher going on record saying that this is good for the city of Pittsburgh, and you got the guy who he might as well retire his jersey within a year, with about 3 years from now, and Ben Roethlisberger saying that it's terrible, it puts a tear in my eye and all that, or he, it doesn't feel the same, doesn't feel right. It's kind of sad. It is sad. You got a long-time head coach in Bill Cowher that doesn't feel that way, though. That's kind of strange. But you're killing the legacy of Pittsburgh at this point. And you know what the irony in this whole thing is? Bill Cowher never really started his career up in Heinz Field as a coach. He started his career up in Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh. I would have preferred it if they would have just gone right back. I mean, if you're just going to basically just destroy the creativity that was Heinz Field, my God, the Ketchup Bottles are legendary. That stadium is remembered for its creativity. Now you're going to put an insurance company's logo on there. And the only reason why they approved of this is because it makes the owners makes them more money for them to say the name 10,000 times on television. I can tell you right now, I think a lot of those people who do the broadcasting are going to botch the crap out of this name. They're going to. They're going to botch the crap out of this name. You watch. It's going to happen one way or the other. Deshaun Watson, this came out as of the other day as well. This was also reported at Black and White Sports along with the ESPN, Wall Street Journal, NFL Insider, CBS Sports was saying today that Deshaun Watson might get 2 to 8 game suspension per the NFL. He was going to sue the NFL if he was going to get more than 12. He was going to get 12 games or more, and they would appeal it and sue the NFL. I look at it like this. You talk about the NFL being afraid of this lawsuit, which, by the way, they would win because there's multiple evidences against this guy for basically assaulting the women, and actually testimony that actually even proves that Watson was guilty. But the reason why these women are selling is they want their money now. They don't want to wait. They want to go through a crazy trial and stare that guy in the face that violated them. They want their money now. And it makes Watson look not as bad as people think it is. Because this looks bad for Watson. It does. When you had to go through 66 massage people and 30 lawsuits. By the way, the 30 lawsuits that were settled by the Houston Texans, by the way, off of the NFL thing. It's sad. It really is freaking sad. It's gotten to the point now where the NFL just looks completely stupid for this. I mean, you talk about a quarterback, and maybe not only the NFL looks stupid, but the Houston Texans look stupid, and the Cleveland Browns look stupid. Especially then when they're paying this guy $230 million to a quarterback that may not even play the entire season. Or even worse, only miss 2 games, and play for a team at this point and have Cleveland Brown fans boo. That's what's going to end up happening in these games. These fans are going to boo their asses off at Deshaun Watson. That's the end of Deshaun Watson as far as we know it right now at this point. For any legitimacy this guy actually would have had of being a good guy. He ain't a good guy. I mean, for him to even admit, about certain things, how he apologized to the women at this point, how the women are even saying that he said this, and he even came to testament with it, and then he's trying to fight it now. Because you want to know what it is? Because Watson's losing his money. He don't want to lose that payday. I mean, those women were on the Brian Gumbo show saying how they were mortified, embarrassed, how they were just, it's a slap to the face, a big giant F them for allowing Deshaun Watson to get signed. You wonder why Deshaun Watson got signed that much money and was willing to get that money from the Browns. You want to know why the Browns were willing to give him that money? Because they hated Baker Mayfield. They actually regret the day they ever drafted Baker Mayfield. And they got the nerve to say that Baker Mayfield was immature. Explain to me how a guy who gets 66 massage therapists is mature, but Baker Mayfield, I mean, let's put it this way. That's like saying that Chad Johnson was mature in his time in Cincinnati. Look at it. He changed his last name, for Christ's sakes, and pissed off Carson Palmer because of it. He didn't even have his name legally changed at that point. And his on the field antics were driving the Bengals absolutely nuts. And DeMarvin Lewis to no end. The Browns, are mad at Baker Mayfield because he wanted to win and he knew he was trying so hard, but he blamed it like he couldn't get the blame. Like he couldn't, like Baker Mayfield had his problems, don't get me wrong. But to say that he was immature to me is what makes this so laughable. It really does. It's unbelievable, if you ask me. It's actually kind of pathetic. This Brown team looks pathetic by keeping this guy around. And it's pathetic that they were so desperate because they were so desperate to overpay Watson to force Baker Mayfield basically out the door. The fact that you signed Deshaun Watson and you still kept Baker Mayfield around long enough to trade him. By the way, you didn't even get anything good back out of that trade. You could have gotten at least a third-round pick. Hell, people were willing to give you a third-round pick just for the guy anyway. I don't get that logic at all. How people could look at that and say, yeah. I mean, it just like, yeah, I'll take back a fifth-round pick. You're talking about an embarrassing return for Baker Mayfield. My God. Hell, you could have got, Odell Beckham Jr. was not happy about the targets he was getting from Baker Mayfield. But Baker Mayfield's heart was limited because he was banged up. This is a guy who was willing to go through war, battered, beaten, and not willing to die. He's not willing to go out without a fight. He's willing to die for you. He's not willing to die without trying. And they just look at him and go, "Oh, he's immature. He can't. He don't listen to nobody. He thinks he's invincible." Wouldn't you hope so in this case? Since he's the guy that led you to the playoffs for the first time in a long time, actually got you a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just saying. You had Jarvis Landry that year. You had Odell Beckham Jr. that year. Hell, you almost won the AFC North that season. You almost won that division. And now look where you are. You got a quarterback who's sexually assaulting women at this point, basically doing what Ben Roethlisberger wished he would have done 10 years ago. Hell, I'm surprised there weren't any cases about it back in Miami of Ohio when he played for the Red Hawks that time, Big Ben. Only with Pittsburgh. And you think about this one right now, and here's the funny thing about this whole thing. Deshaun Watson never even did that in Clemson. But he basically topped the spectrum of ridiculousness when it comes to these things. You talk about trying so hard and simping. He simped for massage therapists, sending him back to his place, using the facility, luring them into his, his little cave, his perverted cave. It's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And he'll get what he deserves. They always do. He'll get what he deserves. And it's only a matter of time. So, former wide receiver, NFL wide receiver at best, who won the Super Bowl 36 with the Patriots, Charles Johnson, first-round pick from the 94 Steelers, dies at age 50. This is according to Bleacher Report. Went to school in Wake Forest, North Carolina, where Johnson previously worked as an assistant athletic director. Tweeted out Condolences go to him and the family. Not sure. He was with the University of Colorado back in 90 to 93. He was with the Steelers, the Patriots. He had a pretty good career. Johnson had a 9-year NFL career. He was drafted originally at number 17 by the Steelers. Spent 5 seasons with the club. He was a Colorado alumni student. Played in Super Bowl 95, where he lost that game to the Cowboys. And 01 when he won one against the Rams, the best field on turf. I think at that time he played with the Eagles as well. He signed as a free agent back in February of 99 that year. He led the team with 7 receiving touchdowns and 642 yards. Receiving came in second with that in 2000. Johnson played in 14 games in 01 with the Patriots. In 2002, in the final year he spent with the Buffalo Bills. He only had 3 receptions that year for 39 yards. Condolences goes out to him and the rest of the family. So 4 NFL players, Dwayne Washington, Torrey Holt, Willie Parker were among the coaches who worked with Johnson during his time at the Heritage High School. So he'll be dearly missed. Other than that, there's really not much more here other than the news about Mickey Rooney Jr., actor and musician and son of screen legend, died at age 77. That was as of yesterday. Condolences goes out to him and his family as well. Other than that, I really have nothing else to say here. Oh yeah, and there was a robbery this week in Providence at a Cadillac Lounge. $25,000 was taken. One of the accomplishments was arrested as of this week. And the Falcons defensive tackle Eddie Goldman announced his NFL retirement, spent 6 seasons with the Chicago Bears. There were a lot of retirements. I should probably bring up Richie Incognito retired. I was going to mention that on the podcast, but I did not mention that. I will get that mentioned there. Incognito retired. Former Cowboy wide receiver Ryan Switzer, I believe, retired. Call it a career. Call it crazy. I'm just saying. That's kind of insane when you think about it, really. But he retired. Incognito retired. Jason McCourty retired at the 13th season with the in the NFL, most of it with the Titans, the Patriots, and the Dolphins, winning a Super Bowl championship. Longtime NFL reporter announcing his retirement before the season was started. That was a longtime reporter and sports journalist John Reed, retired after 34 years. That's really much it. I mean, there's a lot more really in the news about retirement at this point. I think there was another retirement that happened this week. I don't remember. I mean, a few days ago, actually. Bobby Brown was suspended for 6 games for violating the drug policy. Buccaneers coaches are not happy with Leonard Fournette, weighing roughly 260 pounds. Came in out of shape, apparently. Let's see. I think other than that, I think that's pretty much it. N'Keal Harry was traded to the Chicago Bears. Obviously, my thought on that one is he's not going to shine. He's going to be a complete bust. He even thinks the team's going to be terrible. Went on record saying that the roster sucked. So, I think that's really pretty much it about as far as who's retiring and who isn't. Ayton got a 4-year, $133 million contract. That happened last week. Pretty much it here. There's really not much else out here to say right now. Brett Favre was in a lawsuit this week, I believe, with a former ex-governor. Ordered a payment to Favre. So they were. I guess he owes him money. That's pretty much it. I mean, I really have nothing else here on the show to discuss. I wasn't actually going to go back and actually revisit some of these topics. Like I said before, but I think people are going to look back at these news feeds. I might as well get it out of the way here. Other than that, there's really not much else for news here. That is pretty much it. That is the show. The reason why I've been a little MIA as of late was because I got a new job at Electric Boat. So I am one of the new employees there who started their training this week. I'm under the probation period for 6 months. Other than that, I mean, there's not much else to say here. Other than that, right now, my schedule's been totally busy. Mike's schedule's been totally busy. As you notice, I'm solo today, so I didn't even bring him up today. I don't know if he's going to do the show anymore. I don't know if he's ever going to be free. He keeps saying to me that he is available for these shows, but he seems to be MIA. He was working today, obviously. I'll be working tomorrow. I got earlier shifts, so I am the first shift person, which means I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning. I got to be in for 6 a.m. From 6 a.m. to 2:30, I am out of the house. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much else to discuss here with that. I will be on the show. Here's what the plan is going to be this week, because I have a feeling Mike's not going to do Saturday. I don't think he's going to do. So what I will do here is this. This week will just be Wednesday and Friday. So Friday I will do the show. It will probably be 3:30. It will be probably 3:45. I was trying to start the show earlier. I had some flies that were flying around my house, so I had to kill at least 18 flies. I don't know if it's because of the screen door right now. We're having some issues with that in the living room. I'm just saying it could be because of that. I'm not sure what the story was with that. Other than that, there's not much else to discuss here this week. We got the return of baseball games on Friday, so I'll have my series predictions for those. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's not really much else to discuss here. I would be talking about more wrestling, but I've been told by my fan base that WWE is a little bit too much to discuss here. I'm only going to discuss it if it's WrestleMania and SummerSlam. That's what I'll do. I'm not going to do the pay-per-views. I'm not going to do the shows. I'm not going to do AEW. I'm not going to bother with it. I will get more into the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady debate. More likely right now, who's willing to retire? I mean, who's willing to go down to Blades of Glory first? Is it Brady or is it Bill Belichick? And here's my question at this point, and I'll leave this up to you. Has Bill Belichick and Tom Brady become the new Michael Jordan, LeBron James hatred rival fan debate? I think it has. I think it's surpassed that at this point. You know, and people are going to say, oh, Belichick was never a player. I mean, how do you think he got to start? He played football. Pretty sure he played for the Navy, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's it. I will be doing more show. I will be doing the show on Friday instead. So there's your alert right there. I'm going to sign off because I got to go to the gym. I have not worked out all week. This will be my first time going this week. There will be a show on Friday. No show Saturday. Tuesday, we'll see. It's up in the air. Till then, have a safe week, guys. I'm out. Peace.